So our top Zen is the top.
Don't
10
get mad at
indie
anyone
games.
but yourself.
Yeah, so if you don't like them, it's on you guys. Join the Discord and vote in the polls, vote in everything that we send out, or you can't complain. What's the whole thing? If you don't vote, you can't complain, right? And so, welcome to the Top Zen, though. This is the portion of the show where we break down the top 10s of things. This week, we asked you, the Nerd Herd, to vote for your favorite indie game, so tonight, we're getting indie with it. Doodle, do that motherfucking dandy. Nice. I think we're actually going to run another poll where our Geeklife fan-led polls, the last hope for democracy. So, bang, bang. But we are kicking it off with a classic this week at number 10, The Stanley Parable. The Stanley Parable, if you don't know, is a avant-garde, I think I say that right, interactive drama designed and written by developers Davey Worden and William Pugh. The game carries themes such as a choice in video games, the relationship between a game creator and player, and the predestination / fate, and what that kind of means for us all in our heads, and other words for heads that I can't think of right now. But the game was originally released in July 31st of 2011 as a free modification for Half-Life 2. Later, it got its own stand release game that included new story elements and updated graphics. The player guides a silent protagonist named Stanley alongside narration by a British actor named Kevin Brightwing. As the story progresses, the player is confronted with diverging pathways. The player may contradict the narrator's directions, which, if disobeyed, will then be incorporated into the story depending on the choices made. The player will encounter different endings before the game restarts to the beginning. It's a classic choice-style game, and definitely one worth playing if you're into trippy choice games, and if you're into choice games in general, which I always have been. That's why I've loved my Mass Effects and my Fallouts and everything. I want to feel like I'm actually doing something in a video game, you know what I mean? And so that's why number 10, The Stanley Parable, had to make it on this list. But I think, well, guys, have either of you ever got to play The Stanley Parable?
I have not, but it's got big like Portal vibes from what I can tell.
Yeah, a little bit.
You know, it's got, at least in like the narrative and, like, you know, having narration and stuff like that. It's definitely something I'd be interested in checking out.
No, 100%. Well, moving right along, Savage, I believe you got number 9 for us. Give the people number 9
I
on.
do. Coming in at number 9, the good old-fashioned upside down 6. We have Ori in the Blind Forest, or Ori in the Blind Forest. I've never heard it pronounced or written. Either way, personally a huge favorite of mine. Beautiful artwork I've ever seen. Ori in the Blind Forest is a platform Metroidvania-style game developed by Moon Studios, Microsoft. Players take control of Ori, a small white spirit, and Sane, the light and forest spirit tree. Players are tasked to move between platforms and solve puzzles. Absolutely singular. It features a save system called Soul Links, which allows players to save their progress at will with limited resources, and an upgrade system durability game. Developed by Moon Studios, a collective organization without a set organization. They are an entirely intellectual hive mind studio. Story was inspired by things like The Lion King and The Giant, while some of the gameplay elements were inspired by Rayman and Metroid franchise, with a dash of Castlevania in there too. Upon release, the game received critical acclaim, with players praising the gameplay, direction, story, action sequences, musical score, environmental design. Dubbed as one of the best titles at representing art in video games. As someone who played it and likes watching other people play it repeatedly on stream, it's one of the most visually and aesthetically and audioly pleasing games I've ever had the pleasure of playing. Jake, have y'all had the chance to check it out?
I have watched somebody play this, and I play a lot of it, and I feel like it's a very visually appealing game for sure. And I personally, platformers are not my favorite. But as far as platformers go, if there's one that I was interested in trying, it probably would be this one because of how visually different it is and how just entertaining and fun people have said that it is.
Yeah, I've had a chance to dive in on this one. It's a lot of fun. It's super beautiful. It's honestly one of the prettiest platform kind of games like that I've played. And the gameplay is super fun. And I think like even like you kind of touched on Savage, it's one of those kind of last few titles that represent art in video games. You know, when you play this game, you're like, this is an art form. Like they're making fucking art here.
And
You
take
know?
a screenshot of any in the game, cinematic or otherwise, and it looks like a portrait.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah. No. It's one of those. It's crazy
Stunning.
what they can do in such a small screen and everything. It's almost it's way more vivid and everything than this game, of course. But it does remind me a little bit of like if I had to pick a game that a lot of people played that's a little bit newer, Hollow Knight. You know.
Very similar vibe. 100%. Played them both, loved them both.
And so, but moving right on to number 8 on this week's countdown, Dodd, what do we have for number 8?
Well, number 8 on our list of top 10 indie games voted on by you is Firewatch. Firewatch is an adventure game developed by Campo Santo and published by the developer in partnership with Panic. The story follows a fire lookout named Henry in the Shoshone National Forest, a year after the Yellowstone fires of 1988. A month after his first day at work, strange things begin to appear, and his supervisor, Delilah, which connects him to a conspiracy mystery that happened years ago. Henry interacts with Delilah using a walkie-talkie, with the player choosing from dialogue options to communicate. The exchanges with Delilah inform the process by which the relationship is developed, and the game was directed by Ollie Moss and Sean Veneman, written by Chris Ramio, Jake Rodkin. Moss and Veneman produced by Gabe McGill and artist Jane. The game's environment draws inspiration from New Deal advertisements by the National Park Service and field research conducted by the Yosemite National Park. It has generally positive reviews and earning praises for its story, characters, dialogue, and visual style. However, the presence of technical issues and the game's ending were both subjects of criticism. Firewatch still snagged the best indie game of 2016 is in the Golden Joysticks Awards. And what a year to win an award at all. Yeah.
It sounds like Pickley in chat has a lot of playthroughs on this game. So if you guys are interested in Firewatch, definitely go check out his stream or their stream. And, you know, just get a look of it. I love the art style on this game. And I mean, shout out also to Kev for these amazing top Zen images this week. We actually get to look at the games. I know, Dodd, this was your idea as well. Just fucking creativity coming together and just having beautiful babies. And so...
Yeah, 100%. It gives you a little bit of...
Firewatch, though, sounds beautiful. Sounds like an awesome game. I mean, Joystick Award for the best indie game, too, so it had to make the list, it sounds.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful story. Like, it's like, you can't... It's one of those games you talk about the story really at all without starting to give away certain of it, and you have to appreciate
Yeah, that is always like impressive whenever you can make a story so good it's hard to even talk about because you don't want to give the spoilers, you know. Awesome.
Visually, it's such a sell too, and it's got a really cool vibe. So I'm glad that to see it make the countdown.
Well, speaking of games with really cool vibes, this next one at number 7 definitely has some fucking vibes to it. Savage, give the people number 7 on this week's countdown. What do you got there?
Number 7, we have Limbo, a fun little independent title, came out in the early 2010s, I believe, 2010, 2000, remember. Limbo is a puzzle platform game established by independent studio Playdead and originally published by Game Studios for the 6th. That's any indication. Limbo is a 2D side-scroller incorporating a physics system that governs environment, objects, and the player character. The player guides an unnamed boy through dangerous environments, traps, the developer built the game's puzzles expecting the player to fail before finding the correct solution. Playdead called this style of play trial and death, soul-oriented, as me and Jake are very familiar with right now, and used gruesome imagery for the boy's deaths, steered the player clear from unworkable scenes. The game is presented in black and white tones, it's literally all in shadow.
Yeah.
Using lighting, film grain effects, minimal ambient sounds to create a very eerie atmosphere, often associated with genre. It's a game that as you play through it, it feels very isolated, both like sensorially and you feel like. Journalist plays the dark presentation, describing the work as comparable to film noir and expressionism. Based on its aesthetics, reviewers classified Limbo as an example of video games as an art form. Something we're continuing to see in a lot of these titles is just like, people still care a lot about not how good your game looks, how it looks, like, as a whole. Limbo received a critical acclaim, but its minimal story polarized critics. Some critics found it the open-ended work to have a deeper meaning that tied well with the game's mechanics. Others believe the lack of significant plot and abrupt ending attracted the game. A common point of criticism from reviewers was the high cost of the game relative to its short length. Might deter players from purchasing the title, but proposed that the length was ideal. It has been listed as some of the greatest time in the collection, and you can definitely see as you play through it where it would later inspire things, Littlest Nightmares and Hollow Knight, with a lot of its aesthetic choices and pretty dark storytelling. Decided to dive that deeply. That was really hard to say. Have either of you guys had the chance to check this one out? This is not one I've played personally, but I was aware of as an inspiration.
I'm in the same boat as you. I know by proxy. I've definitely seen it played. I've actually watched a few streams of it on Twitch.
I have too.
And it's one of those that, like, I mean, when you said Little Nightmares, I think I watched somebody play this and then watched them play Little Nightmares and was just like, is this in the same universe? Like, what's kind of going on? Because they're very similar in a lot of aspects. But no, it's a gorgeous game.
Yeah,
even though it's black and white, that noir feel is just like, whoo.
Like I said, this is one of those games where I've played a lot of similar genre games as far as like side-scrolling platforms go, and seeing Limbo, I'm like, they all aesthetically, mechanically, environment. This started a lot, and that's really cool. Definitely why it's on the
100%. We need to stop doing that.
God damn it, Dodson.
100%. There's got to be one where it's only 90.
No, I'm just gonna go 1,000%.
All the time.
500%.
Mathematically.
Yeah.
Well, 100% number 6 in this week's countdown is Unentitled Goose Game, and it's fine. I'll take that one.
Goose Game. I like that version better. The Unentitled.
Untitled. Yeah. My bad. Unentitled Goose Game. It's not entitled to shit, bro. It's
he's walking around being very polite to people.
It's the Untitled Goose Game. Untitled Goose Game is a 2019 puzzle stealth game developed by House, which another great game, or great name. Jeez. Right. And published by Panic. Players control a goose who bothers the inhabitants of an English village. The player must use the goose's ability to manipulate objects and non-player characters to complete objectives. Untitled Goose Game originated from a stock photograph of a goose that a House employee posted in the company's internal communications, Slack. This sparked a conversation about geese. The team put the idea aside for a few months until they realized that it had potential to be a fun game. Inspired by Mario 64 and the Hitman series, which talk about a combination, House worked on combining stealth mechanics with a lack of violence to create a humorous in-game scenarios. The game's unusual name come from a last-minute decision in preparing the title as an entry for game festivals, and it just stuck. Untitled Goose Game received positive reviews, with critics praising its gameplay, the humor, the title. DICE gave it Game of the Year, among other accolades. By the end of 2019, it had sold more than 1 million copies, and this game was huge. It was all over the place. If you were alive in 2019, which I think everybody here was, at least I hope so, you heard about this game. It was everywhere. It blew up because of just how crazy it was, as far as like the idea of it. Like, you got to play this goose that was just fucking with people, and it was great. If you've ever encountered a goose, then this game nailed what it was like to be a goose. They're assholes.
If you've ever encountered a goose, sorry to interrupt here, but if you've ever encountered a goose, this game genre very quickly shifts to survival.
Yeah, it's a survival horror, exactly. But I love the fact that you get to play the monster.
Yeah.
But have any of you guys got to play Untitled Goose Game, and what did you think about it?
No, but I watched Pickley. Yeah. So, I mean, I've definitely been involved in an Untitled Goose Game stream before, and seen the shenanigans, and that's exactly what it is. Shenanigans.
It is.
Probably in the most shenanigans of ways, right?
Very shenanigan-y game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. full of shenanigans. What about you, Savage?
I have played and watched the game. I did, if I'm being completely honest, had a lot more fun watching the game itself. But I liked how it essentially a puzzle game, but it got to incorporate mechanics games that I love stealth mechanics games.
Yeah.
However, I feel like a lot of the games that really used to about stealth mechanics, like Splinter Cell, things, Metal Gear Solid, like that era of game has passed. These game franchises have shifted way more into like military action perspective, and so anytime I see a game that really likes to necessitate the use of stealth mechanics over outright combat, I jump. I love that. This game put a really, really enjoyable spin on it, also because I do have childhood trauma of being attacked by my geese.
Geese, man.
And
geese, they don't fuck around. They don't fuck around.
Do you know they have teeth? Geese have teeth.
Yeah. No, dude, I've
teeth.
encountered gooses. All right, like they are up here. I mean, whatever. Don't buy into Webster's bullshit. All right.
Every time you say geese, Webster gets more money.
I mean,
no, like,
we have
them. We have them up here in Virginia. They'll stop traffic, bro. Like they'll completely like they'll try to cross the road, and you'll just have to wait. And there's nothing you can do. You're not getting out of your car.
That's because the geese.
Why did the goose cross the road? Doesn't matter. Your day's ruined.
But it's really the geese.
Exactly. But these guys, this game in general, it was a lot of fun. I got to play it. It's funny, Savage, you even mentioned that. My fiance, she kind of felt the same way as far as like it was more fun to watch you play it than to play it. Like just because like watching somebody else go through the motions and everything, because when you're actually playing it, you're kind of like in the zone of like doing the stealth and everything. But when you're watching it, you're just getting to watch a goose fuck with people, and that's just, I think, the beautiful part of it.
There's a lot of entertainment value, surprising amount.
It really is. That's why I'm really interested in that new game where you get to be a cat. I love being animals in games. That shit's fun to me. But I digress. Speaking of being animals, let's move right into being fucking cups. Number 5 on this week's countdown is Cuphead. Cuphead, also known as Cuphead Don't Deal with the Devil, or Do, whatever, I'm not your father, is a 2017 run-and-gun video game developed by the publisher by Studio MDHR. It was inspired by the rubber hose style from the golden age of American animation and the submersive and surrealist qualities of works of Walt Disney Animation Studios. And you can kind of tell that right in this artwork right here. Like it's always kind of had that very old school, like Steamboat Willie vibe to it, but with like a new run and gun shoot 'em up. You know what I mean? One of the two players control. Yeah, I know, right? One of the two players control protagonist Cuphead and his brother Mugman, very creative names, to fight through several levels that accumulate to a boss fight in order to repay their debt to the devil. Praised for its art style, gameplay, soundtrack, and difficulty, because trust me, it's there. It was a critical and commercial success, winning several awards with more than 6 million copies sold. It's even got a Netflix animated series, The Cuphead Show, which premiered earlier this month, and an expansion title, The Delicious Last Course, that is scheduled to release in June 2022. So later this year, actually this summer, really coming up, actually. I didn't even know the sequel was that close. But I just got to dive into the show. I've got to play Cuphead. It's a great game. I can totally see why it's at number 5 here. Hella fun indie game. Have either of you guys got a chance to play Cuphead? If so, do you think it deserves to be in the top 5?
Oh yeah, it's one of those that absolutely should be here. And shout out, thank you for the follow, Shadow Ops TV.
Oh shit! Yeah, thanks for the follow.
Yeah, appreciate
Shadow.
That.
Thanks for
but yeah, so I think that this is one that absolutely deserves to be on this countdown. Cuphead has been known for years. Its difficulty was where it was praised from first, but its art style, I think, is truly unique. And I'm honestly really enjoying the show right now. Right, it's funny, it's zany, it's episodic, so I don't have to really worry about what's happening from show to show. But yeah, it's been really fun. So I'm really glad to see Cuphead make it, and I think that it really earned its spot here at number 5. What do you think, Savage?
I wonderfully enjoyed the show. I watched that start to single sitting with zero problem. I also am a huge fan of the game, as I am powerfully nostalgic towards rubber hosing. That animation style took so much work and was such a foundational important for what animation today. To see that, to call it like an homage doesn't feel like that does it justice, because this is not only a revisitation of that animation style, but it embraces it for what it is and it does an amazing job. And I cannot talk about that enough. But also, like, y'all, it's hard. It is so difficult. I have over 750 hours clocked Dark Souls alone. Dark Souls 3 was not as hard as the game. Like, this game
that makes me feel better about Elden Ring then, because I gave Cuphead a run for it, but it is a very hard game.
So good, and I very much enjoy it. But honestly, to this day, I still have not made it past like the third world. Like, it's poof.
Have you? Did you solo or two player?
I tried soloing it because I didn't have a friend.
I'm gonna be honest with you, and this may not make you feel better. Soloing, it's easier.
But
actually, I was gonna say, I tried doing it duo, and that was hard as hell.
That's it. They actually, the developers even confirmed it. When you're playing as a duo, they lower each person's attack power. That way, it kind of levels out, because if they had both of you with the max attack power, you would just run through bosses, and so they actually lower each player's attack power. So if you're not both equally the same skill level, someone's going to be dying a little bit more, someone's going to have less attack power. It's a whole like combination of like, if you're not going to carry, then you're going to get screwed. You know what I mean? Like if you're playing with somebody. And I'm telling you, it's harder with two players, much easier to solo.
I mean, not going to mention anybody being called out in chat right now.
For sure. Certainly not Littlest Nelly, for sure.
But speaking of games that involve two, and it's not It Takes Two, which I am surprised is, actually,
there's a few honorable mentions we'll need to get.
I don't want to give any spoilers, but I just kind of had a little mini like, what the fuck? But anyway, number 4 on this week's list. Dodd, what is number 4? I'm unpacking something right now, so.
Yeah, that is a lot to unpack, and that's why number 4 on our list is Unpacking. Unpacking is a puzzle video game by Australian company Witchbeam and published by a Humble Bundle for Microsoft Windows, Mac OS, Linux, Nintendo Switch, and Xbox One. The game is divided into stages named by the years in which they take place, starting in 1997 and jumping periodically to 2018. The game in each stage comprises of unpacking a female character's possessions from the boxes into a new dwelling, representing significant life events. The player is tasked with fitting each unpacked item into a living space, learning the protagonist's life story through her items and the place that she lives. Unpacking in a high-res pixel art style and sound design includes over 1,400 Foley effects, with multiple pickups and placement sound effects unique to each item. To be honest, guys, I never played Unpacking, and I am amazed to see that there is a game that does this and that makes money doing this, because I fucking hate moving, and I can't believe that there's anybody out there that gets any satisfaction out of this.
I pay people money to literally pack and unpack for me. Like I would rather do that, like, because it's just, I hate packing, unpacking, moving in general. But I get it's compartmentalization, I think, is what.
That's it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, chat, because I know Nelly plays it. Is it the compartmentalism of it? You know, that's what I gotta say. I guess that's what it is. Savage, it sounds like you've played it though.
I feel like
I have not played it, but I have opinions on packing already.
Okay. You're like, I have not played it, but I love sorting.
I do. Like, yo, I am moving here. Frankly, like, being able to like immediately like compartmentalize all of my possessions, like, it therapeutically translates to organizing thoughts, and like that's a healthy therapeutic practice. But also, I'm still hiring movers because I don't want to fuck shit. I'm not fitting.
Nelly said, I love unpacking digitally. So, just to clarify, it's only in the game.
Yeah.
But, awesome. Well, number 4, unpacking. Sounds like a fun one. But that's probably not as fun as number 3 on this list, or at least you would think that's how list would work. Who's number 3 on this list, though, Savage? Hit us up with number 3 on the best indie games.
Number 3 is I'm going to go ahead and say is one I have played and one very, very thoroughly enjoyed. Number 3, we have Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight is a 2D side-scrolling game developed and published by Yacht Club Games. Development actually fully crowdfunded on Kickstarter. We mentioned this earlier when we were talking about acquisitions, but Shovel Knight is inspired by like some of the earliest generations of gameplay and graphic platformer games, dating all the way back to the Nintendo. Looking at the art style, which you can kind of see on the little fly-up window next to me, definitely feels and looks that way, but it was done so very. The game has received massive amounts of critical acclaim awards. It's continually releasing campaigns and more improvements to the story. And the game has now adopted the retro couple of Hope. Game was released in December of 2019. Shovel Knight Treasure Trove, which included 3 other campaigns: Plague of Shadows, Spectre of Torment, and King of Cards, along with a multiplayer fighting game called Showdown.
Hell yeah.
For fun, it gives you big classic joust. You don't know what joust is in the original, it's like, but it's really seminal in video game development. One thing that's not explicitly mentioned on this list that I personally draw a huge amount of attention is Shovel Knight has one of the best audio and soundtrack designs of any game I've played in the past 10 years, and I will die on that hill. The music and sound design of this game is better than games that literally are invested.
And that's
game
crazy.
Sounds beautiful, amazing, and the score is entirely original. Just go listen to it on Spotify. Play the game or don't. Just check out this music. It is absolutely good. I
think that's something indie games seem to focus on sometimes, that some of the big guys do let slip through the cracks, is just solid sound and what that means for a game and what a good soundtrack can do, you know? A game like this, it can look more simplified, but due to a certain art direction or a sound, it can just really come to life. And so,
I feel like that's the mystique and the majesty of like the independent game. It's like, they may not hit all of the bullet points, but there's some of those bullet points that large titles will never.
Yep, they do it, and they do it well. And
I know for a fact that I've used the Shovel Knight soundtrack several times because it comes up on my Pretzel Rock station when I'm playing Pokemon and things like that, because it's just some of the best just chiptune sounds out there for as far as soundtracks goes. I just have massive respect for what Yacht Club has been able to do and how they've been able to create their games and still create them in the same kind of fashion style and something that people still want every single time. And they do really, really well at what they do.
No, 100%. And they grow community while they do it, which is a huge part of everything, you know?
Yeah.
And which, I mean, kind of in that same vein, speaking of community, I love my transitions. Speaking of the community and needing one, Don, tell the people what number 2 is. It's a little sus, in my opinion.
Yeah, number 2 is a little sus because number 2 is Among Us. Among Us is a 2018 online multiplayer social deduction game developed and published by American game studio Innersloth, inspired by the party game Mafia and the science fiction horror film The Thing. Well, the game was initially released in 2018 to a little mainstream attention and received a massive influx of popularity in 2020 due to the many well-known Twitch streamers and YouTubers playing it. A separate VR version of the game, Among Us VR, will be released for Quest 2, Steam VR, and PlayStation VR. Developed by Shell Games, Among Us takes place in a space-themed setting where players look like colorful, armless cartoon astronauts. However, since the release of the Skeld spaceships and 3 other maps have been added, in later years, the skyscraper, Mira HQ, and Polis, the planetary station, and the airship based off of the infiltrating airship from the Henry Stickmin series, also developed by Innersloth. Each of these players takes on 2 roles. Most are crewmates, but a small number of players play imposters which do not alter their appearance. The goal of their crewmates is to either identify and vote out the imposters or complete all the tasks around the map. The goal of the imposters is to covertly sabotage the mission by either killing the crewmates before they complete their task or by triggering a disaster that cannot be resolved. Now, We have played many of Among Us. I know that all of you guys have played Among Us before.
The nerd herd is not. They know Among Us.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I
And if
remember
y'all have
this
any
one
qualms
time.
with Among Us making 2 on the countdown here?
Oh man, I don't know about 2. I know top 5. I'll give it that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just I think it did fall off very hard. If I'm gonna be honest, But
Right.
it's definitely still a largely played game. It brought a lot of us together, so you'll never hear a bad word of Among Us come out of my mouth.
Right.
If Sax is still here right now, that was like one of the some of the most fun I've had was playing some Among Us with Sax, Dodd, like everybody here, and just kind of like during the peak of COVID when we needed it. Among Us came. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We needed it the most. We needed it the most. Savage, you were about to start spouting off specific moments, weren't you?
Oh yeah, man, there's some great callback Among Us here on Geeklife that we played together.
Yeah.
And the first time I ever imposter game, I played with little as Nelly. I'd never played Imposter before. I'd only played the game a handful of times before that, and we perfected, killed everyone, and they did not. And I will wear that feather in my hat till the very end of this day. Although there were some very loud words directed at my person at the end of that session, which is fine. But
It lets you know a lot about your friends. It really did. It was like, which one of you bitches are really good at lying right to my face?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
there were 2 words, and they were simply the audacity.
Right. 100%. And
The lie
we
on the
found out
witch,
that-
the audacity of this.
Exactly, right. And we found out for sure that Jake is 1000% the best liar. I think there's several different clips of Jake just absolutely wrecking the crew. And like
I'm a
just
very good liar, yeah.
just lying right through his fucking teeth right there beforehand. It was creepy. It was creepy how good you were, man.
I'm
Yeah,
very
just like
good at
sitting
lying.
back
I
here,
don't know.
like in the stream chat, just like, he's lying to you, screaming at the screen.
I'm really good at what's the word? Deceiving people.
You're
Deception.
You're liar. That's just liar.
I gamble a lot. I played a lot of poker as a kid. You got to keep that poker face on, and I still play poker to this day. You know what I mean? You just got to keep it straight. I'm not a fucking imposter.
I mean,
why would I be the
I have
imposter?
I mean, I'm a great
We're
liar.
gonna-
I lied about keeping it straight.
Yeah. I'm gonna have a hard time keeping it straight, that's for damn sure.
I just lied right then.
Hello.
I've never played poker. You guys believed it automatically. You were like, that guy plays poker. I don't play poker. What the fuck?
Poker
I look
face
like a gambler.
transcends the game of poker. That is an adage that has transcended its original.
Yeah.
But I will. I'll
really
go
bought
ahead. And see there. Yeah, Dodd knew.
Yeah.
Dodd was like, oh yeah, I could see Jake playing poker.
Right.
I have played poker though. I lied again. Anyway.
So I was right all along. Yeah. I stuck with my gut. I'm good.
So number 1 on this week's countdown, and I can't argue with this one. Personally, you can argue with some of them, but this one right here, it's my number 1.
This was a clear and decisive.
Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley is a simulation role-playing game developed by Eric Concerned Ape Baron. It was initially released for Microsoft Windows in February 2016 before being ported over to other things like the console, computer, mobile games. Players take the role of a character who takes over their deceased grandfather's farm. You work in corporate America. It's a huge fucking drag. You get a letter from your granddad, and he's like, hey, you want to go work on the farm? And you take him up on it because why the fuck not? The game is open-ended, allowing players to take on activities such as growing crops, raising livestock, mining and foraging, selling produce, and even socializing with the townspeople, even having the ability to marry and have children, or turn your children into birds and get divorced. But anyway, Baron developed Stardew by himself over 4 years. He was heavily inspired by the Harvest Moon video game series, with additions to address some of the shortcomings of those games. If you don't know the story behind this, definitely check it out. It's crazy. It's one of those it's one of those crazy stories where a developer made a game, didn't have enough money to finish the game, sold it kind of like to a larger studio. They helped him get it out. He got it out. The game was such a commercial success that he made enough money to then buy the game back and then developed all the patches and stuff himself outside of the other studios. So it went from being a part of something to then just being Concerned Ape again, and like that's just an incredible kind of like, you know, whole story there.
It was Chucklefish who helped him with.
Yeah, Chucklefish. Yeah. If you ever saw the Chucklefish logo and then you were like, wait, where did that go? It's because Chucklefish helped him kind of get it out there and get it kind of distributed. But then for the latest patch, 1.5, that came out, I think in 2020, maybe 2021, that one was all done by Concerned Ape by himself after they rebought the studio back. It's crazy. It's like an artist almost kind of buying back the rights to their music or something like that when you really think about it. And I think there's something beautiful there. And so he used a lot of the money to kind of like just help improve it. But anyway, Stardew Valley has sold 15 million copies. So one of the largest selling indie games on this list by far. I mean, I think one of the other ones we were talking about at 1 million copies is like, oh, great, give them high fives. 15 million here in 2021.
That sounds low. Like,
critics highlighted the game's music, characters, and relaxing qualities. It is Stardew Valley is it's a mainstay here on the Cozy Corner. Sometimes I believe Nelly can attest to that one. And let's see, it was also been praised for a lot of things like same-sex relationships being a thing inside of them. The creator of Harvest Moon even said that he praised the game for retaining the freedom that later entries of his series had lost, which I think, like, if you're looking at that as a developer, and, you know, like I said at the top of this, Concerned Ape was really drawing inspiration from Harvest Moon. He was obviously a huge fan of that series. For the creator of that to come back and say, hey, you created something not only amazing, but something that caught some of the luster that our games lost, right? That's just a huge praise in itself. And so I see why it's Stardew Valley's number one on the countdown. But what about you guys? Any beef with Stardew sitting at the top of sitting at the top of the mountain?
I think that there are a lot of games, indie games out there that I might have probably put ahead of Stardew, but Stardew is a huge contender. I see why it has such a big appeal, and I know tons of people that play it, so I can see why it got such a high vote. But I want to see what chat thinks. Chat, do you think that Stardew Valley is the greatest indie game of all time? I don't know if we got a poll that we could put up here for that, but that would be nice to see if we agree with it. But Savage, I know you've got to agree with Stardew making the top here.
I mean, I do want to qualify this with, I do believe there are dozens and hundreds of games that could have made this list, but just didn't. Some of the voting margins were literally single votes. But so there are a lot of games that I feel like on and on honorable mentions on this list. Go ahead, fair those. Also a fan of the Pickley, but I and we can talk about the other 9 on this list in order that we. But I don't see any other than Stardew being on this list for a number of. We're talking about all the same things that I brought up before: art design, game design, mechanics, audio and music. It's some of the best ambient background music ever, anywhere. Like elevator lobbies everywhere should take a note from sound design.
100%. Yeah,
100%. But
1,000%. God damn it! I said 100% again.
You got me doing it now. But like for me personally, on a personal note, like this was one of those games that I feel like I can retreat to when real world starts to get a little too real. And like this game has not this. You can read stories on Steam for product reviews for this game. People talking about how, like, you know, I was going through recovery. I was going through a divorce, or my wife died, and I needed some kind of therapeutic escape. And they talk about how this game helped. Like, this is a game about farming and raising animals, and it's literally like taking people outside the context of like their very, very dark lives sometimes, and it's giving them a moment of peace where they can do literally anything they need to do at their own pace, pressure. And I think that's top 1.
I agree. Yeah, like I said, I gave it a lot of praise, so I'm not gonna like sit here and jerk it off anymore. Fucking awesome game though. Like, it's great. It's so much fun. The mental health aspect of it alone, like, I have to attest to that. Like, there's a reason why I kind of keep going back to it, especially during times that kind of like
big old gay yay for queer relationships too.
Oh, 100%.
Big old gay.
Me and
even
Alex
as
have
a
been dating for 4 years now.
oh yeah, Alex, I forget. Yeah. But like even as the cis white male here, it's always really cool to have all of the options. You know what I mean? I've never understood games not having the options, right? Like, I mean, just representation. Come on, guys, give it the fucking
Right.
program. But like Stardew Valley, it's so good for
You
the
could be a
mental
little digital bi-curious, you know. You never know.
health. Oh yeah, you can. Yeah, and Alex is a great one to be digitally bi-curious with.
Exactly.
Wait, who
Yeah,
lives at the beach? Who lives at the beach?
Oliver.
Oh yeah, no, that guy could get it.
He's Fabio here. Probably Awesome Digs are really awesome in chat. The last half of the list, it kind of being not, or the first is about being some flux there. And the full disclosure, a lot of these titles were literally like single votes up, and were just two ties. So like,
yeah,
that is true. Yeah, this was a very close match all around. Stardew Valley, I think, definitely got the most votes, but some of these were super just like one vote off from each other. So we kind of like had
split. Chat is split on Stardew Valley.
I know.
Well, is Stardew Valley the greatest game ever? Yes, obviously, duh. Or no, I like Bing. So that seems like a bit of a lead question.
No, I think Nelly did a really good job on that. I think she seems to be a very unbiased person, and I like the cut of her jib. I like her moxie.
You got Moxie, kid.
But I think we didn't really write down some not mentions or top. What is
Honorable
it?
mentions.
Honorable mentions. Goddamn, there you go. Yeah, we didn't write down honorable mentions.
Separate not mentions.
So I can't like rattle them off, but I will say that I almost fucked up by making an It Takes Two joke earlier on, and I'm like, well, how is It Takes Two not on this list?
I mean,
like that game is so good.
It Takes
so good.
You've got Spirit Fairy. You've got Unravel that came out on PlayStation Network years ago.
Really good one.
So fun and like I said, you could have literally hundreds of games on this list, all deserving. I could probably go through my Steam library right now and just be like, oh, we should have had this one, and we'll be here at least until Wednesday.
Any honorable mentions for you, Dodd?
I think Grounded, Century Age of Ashes. I think those are some big ones that were these past couple of years were really some heavy hitters throughout the park there. You know, just if we're talking about it depends on what we look at. When we look at these indie games, we tend to look at games that are by small developers, but still, you know, when we look at developers like Rocksteady and Rockstar, those are still indie developers. They're independent developers.
Yeah,
they're just not, but we don't consider them in the same way. And if I'm picking out of those kind of independent developers, then hands down the best one of all time is Rocksteady, 100%.
Oh yeah.
So those would be my picks.
Yeah. So you're trying to say that Gotham City is an indie game, or Arkham City is an indie game?
It should be.
I'm literally like, I'm just saying that would be if we're putting that one in the category, then oof, you got to open those floodgates. You know what I mean? There's a couple of games that Rocksteady and some of those guys have made that was incredible. But I do like the point though. They are technically still an independent studio, even if they are franchised out by like a huge thing like WB or.
When we have these conversations about, you know, the big boys kind of eating all the competition up. I mean, I think that's important. You know, that's an important distinction.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the next conversation, probably the next topic, the deep dive, is who's going to buy Rocksteady.
Yeah.
Somebody, or Ubisoft, Rocksteady, one of those guys, they're going to go next. I can guarantee it.
I mean, is Rockstar still independent? Like,
yeah, I believe so too.
Like, GTA still, they're all standing on their own two legs? Because that's...
Yeah, Rockstar still alone too. That, you know, with Red Dead and GTA, they could be bought up any day. But, well, that will do it, guys. That's pretty much the show. That'll wrap it up for this episode of Geek Life. Season 3 officially kicked the fuck off. Let's go, baby. We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we did. I know I did. I had a great time. I hope you had a great time. Dodd, do you have a special announcement for us? Was there something? Yes,
I do. So I wanted to take some time to talk to you guys, everybody that's listening, everybody that's watching. One, if you're listening to us on Spotify right now, it's probably going to be the last Spotify episode you're going to hear from us because we're probably not going to be doing very many more of those. You can check us always on YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, Twitter, all the places you've heard us talk about before, where you can find us. But also for me, as you heard at the beginning of the show, I just started a new job with New Rockstars. and we've got a lot of cool things that are going on with that. But that's gonna be taking a majority of my time, and so you probably won't see me very much more here. You definitely won't be seeing me on Free Game Friday anymore. I don't know if Jake or Cape will be ending up taking over that, but we will see how it goes. But you definitely won't see me there. And you probably won't see me here on Geeklife very much. I'm still going to be around in chat and Discord and everything else like that. So still love to talk to you guys, still love to hang out. But for the most part, just going to kind of take a step back, let everybody else shine a little bit. And we've got a great crew here to do that. And so I'm excited to see, what everybody else can get to,
100%. Or God damn it!
That's right, Jake. That's 4 times in one show.
Shut up, Savage. 1,000%, Dotson. Dude, congratulations. I know we gave all that kind of at the top of the thing. I think it's fucking awesome. New Rockstars is lucky to have you. Obviously, we're still lucky to have you around in the Discord. Like you said, the Nerd Herd, join the Discord. We've sent so many fucking links out. It's everywhere. Just join it. We're all here. Yep. We're, come be a part of the family. And so, it's great that you're still going to be able to stick around in at least some function. I'm glad that we'll still see you here. And obviously, we hope to see you on the show as much as possible. So, and if not on our show, hopefully on a much larger show on New Rockstars. So if anybody's tuning in right now, get the man on fucking TV. He needs to be there. And so, if you want more Geek Life, you can always follow us either here if you use Twitter, Twitch, anything. You can find me at Gonzo Gone Live. Dodd, where can they find you one more time?
You can find me at Roosebane on Twitch, Twitter, and TikTok, or you can find me over at YouTube/New Rockstars.
Awesome. And Savage, where can they find you at?
Find me right here on Twitch at savage_patch_kid, or on Instagram as savage_patch. I'll be hopefully hanging out around a lot more with you guys. This was a fun show. I'm super happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Give us your unbiased opinion on Savage in the chat. Let us know. Should we keep having Savage on? Should we throw him back into the basement?
Give me some biased opinions too, because I need those for validation.
Yeah, like those photos. But you can also check out more Geek Life content on our YouTubes, on our Instagrams, any of the places. All of those are, the links are right here. They're below. They're somewhere there in the LinkTree. They're all around you, right? Big shout out to our moderator, Littlest Nelly. Everything, keeping the chat lit, talking to everybody, making sure things are moving along, throwing out those polls too. Oh, girl, working the polls. Let's get it. And then our video producer, Cape, always amazing job to you, Caper Doodle. I know we had a little bit of technical difficulties there, but Jesus fucking Christ, it wouldn't be Geek Life without him. So thank you for even throwing those in there. I'm saying it's on purpose now. It's just a part of the personality. It's who we are. It's what we do. It's what we're here for. And
bang.
But followers, thank you for the support.
He was dilly and dandying all over the place too.
I think
man.
We had a new
really nice
follower, Shadow Ops TV. Fuck yeah,
thank you,
Shadow Ops TV. Is that like?
Yeah, 100%.
Hell yeah. And then thank you for the cheer, Pickly. Or Prickly? Is it Pickly? Pickly. Thank you for the cheer, Pickly. And the newest subscriber, Toddly Awesome, which obviously you guys know who Toddo is. He's here all the time. So it'll be great to have him back on the show in the coming weeks. Anyway, dudettes, days, everybody's fucking, we'll be back. If not next week, then the next one. I think we're still going to be doing this every other week for right now, but we're going to have a lot of other shows in the meantime. Stay tuned for anything from Cape's Classics to just me fucking around playing Elden Ring. I may be on there just dying later, so just watch out. But either way, whatever you're looking for, you can find it right here on Geek Life. Until next time, peace.
Love you all.